Locally dokily folks, I'm on to the next bit, and I am just literally starting with adding a layer of Avalon Sunset to the base section of the fire. I'm not going to worry about going up too high with this because the flames, the core of the flames should be lighter. If you ever look at a image of a fire or a flame, it burns lightest where the fuel and oxygen tend to meet, which is right the center really. So it tends to be lighter there than darker, which is where apparently a lot of people go wrong with painting flames. They tend to paint darker up to lighter, which is what you would do perhaps on any other color on a miniature. So I'm not too worried about this going too all over the place at the moment, because I may add red over the top to the tops of the flicks of flame, even from the bottom, just to represent the fact of getting away from the fire. But it definitely needs to be all over, and preferably at least a third of the way up, I reckon. That's what I'm going to do on these. Let's give it a good coating. And the reason for this, I'm going to go over it with yellow in a moment, just to get that brighter yellow flame in there. What I will do is I will, once this is dried, I will mix in, as you can see it's coming off my finger a little bit, I shall mix in some red to make a mid between the top and the bottom, so it sort of blends up to a red flame at the top, with black at the very tips of the top flames to represent where it is becoming no longer a flame and more into smoke. So yeah, just be really kind of slap this on, let's say in a wave around it, and then I'll go back and add I think it's Aerial Yellow. This is the next one, which will be after this. Well, I'll do a test piece anyway, see if it's if this is thick enough, a solid enough a colour for that to sit on. We shall see. We shall see. So yeah, mainly just making sure it's in all the nooks and crannies at the moment. Giving a good coverage. Right, so there we have it. That is the bottom bit of the flame that we should do. I might leave that for a second and then I shall come back and do some more. See you in a bit. Okay, so the main bit is a bit dry now, so I'm going to go back in with a brighter yellow. Just add that into the very bottom of the flames and into those gaps. Again, I'm not too worried about putting too much yellow on because the other colours will be over the top of this, so it shouldn't matter too much. Most colours will go over yellow. It's getting that yellow on first that's normally the issue. This may take a couple of coats. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll go around and do this, and then I'll be back in a moment. See you in a moment, guys. Okay, so I've started applying a mixture of the yellow and Evil Sun's Scarlet to make a nice orange, because I don't actually have one in my collection of paints, which means I may have to go out and buy one for the very fact of doing something like this again. I'm just keeping applying this. I'll go around in a minute and do some higher bits on the lower end. You can see that it's blending into two there. So what we do with the other bits is go back over them. Doesn't matter if we leave a bit of the yellow showing underneath like that, it kind of gives an added effect. So you can just kind of do that. It's almost dry brushing. I'm going to say you can probably get away with just using the dry brush technique, but it's, you know, fire isn't a hard and fast thing, so it doesn't really matter if, for example, you do this to it and almost dab. You definitely want to go a bit more paint on your brush for the tips of the flames where it's licking up like that. So hopefully you'll get the idea there. The next bit I'm going to do is red, and I'll do the red on the tip of the flames, but hopefully this will look somewhat like how you would expect a fire to look, even if not 100% realistic. And like I say, what I'll do next is exactly the same, but with the red and not necessarily reaching as far down as the orange. So leaving some of the orange exposed, maybe the very tips of the lower bits with the flames looking up. Just like that. Quite liking that effect actually. It's guess what I should have done. Hang on, I've got one kicking around. I have some old paint pots that I use for this very situation. It might save my fingers getting a bit square. It's one of these, they're all dried up. I sometimes pull the paint out of them as well. Yeah, see, cheap paint pot. Paint mini holder handle, paint handle. That's the one I was looking for. Sometimes you have happy little accidents. I was wondering if leaving the Avalon Sunset in there as a colour was a good thing or not, but actually it's kind of offering a kind of mid-tone between the two. So, having done that, just quickly wipe this off. It won't take 5 seconds. We then go up to the red, and the red's a bit. This is the bit where I think I'm going to be most nervous, because it's a much brighter colour. I could actually. I've got my fist on red. It's darker. Okay, we'll use that next. Everything in reverse order when you do it like this. Some people paint this way anyway. They paint light to dark. That is a technique, but most people tend to paint dark first. Right. So with the red, we're picking out the tips of the flames sort of at this point onwards, and going up and covering it. This makes sense. We're getting towards the top of the fire but up here, and then as we did before, sort of introducing a bit of red further down, but not too much as to kill the orange altogether. So hopefully that's looking a bit more like it now. So again, I'm going to put that down, put that in there for a second. Rub that off. Go find the next red, which is a bit deeper. And the scary bit is right at the end when you add black. I haven't got my head around that one yet, but I've seen it, it works. Right. So we've got a deeper red. Go right at the top. I don't know if this is going to really add a lot of contrast, to be honest. Well, maybe. So again, I've just gone around the very, very top bit, given it a good coverage, and then I'm going to just lick, well, I'm not personally going to lick it, but I'm just going to give a touch to the top of each of the flames, a bit more of a, that's my fist on red, so it's a bit darker, It's a bit of a more solid colour as well, because normally you'd put this on first and then you'd put something like Evil Sunz on top of it. I think that's looking really nice, really flame-like. Now this is the bit that's going to take a little bit of belief for me for this to work. So I'm going to get some Abaddon black. I'm going to add a little bit of black to this, hopefully not too much. He says there's not enough red left there. That's what that is. Right, we do go for black though right at the tips, and for a bit elsewhere, just to, like I said before, just to give the impression of the turning to smoke. Right, so now we're ready for the black. And this is, like I said, the bit where I'm going to go a bit kind of like, is it going to work or am I going to ruin my wonderful creation? Right, so what should I use for this? I'll probably go with the same brush, to be fair. It's kind of half on its way out. Right, here we go. Black on me. Here we go. Now really, I need this to be kind of dry brushed on all of it. So I'm actually going to declare this quite a success for myself. Anyway, I don't know what you guys think. Let me know. First attempt at a big flame like this. I think it's come out all right. So the black really helps to bring out the flames, and it really is looking more like a flame than if I painted it the other way, I think. Brill. Right. Well, that's more or less everything apart from the damsel. Everything else is now painted, so maybe I'll come back when I've painted some more of her, but she's a normal figure, so you're not going to miss much if I paint her up whilst you're not watching. Catch you in a little while.